we're going to have a chat about, the sort of the changing of the guard, really, that seems to have been happening within English cricket this summer, which is, I think, a really interesting contrast, really, to where we were last year when they were fiercely in defence of Zach Crawley, for instance, who was struggling, and there was never any question really about dropping people. But let's have a look. There's no space for Johnny Bairstow, Moeen Ali, Chris Jordan in England's white ball squad to face Australia next month. That's 3 T20s and 5 one-day internationals. But 5 uncapped call-ups. So Warwickshire's Dan Mosley, Jacob Bethel, Josh Hull, the left-arm fast bowler from Leicestershire, I've been keeping my eye on. Hampshire fast bowler John Turner, Essex wicket batsman Jordan Cox. Cox and Hull have also been around the Test squad, but they haven't played a game yet, of course. So it just adds that feeling of that changing of the guard, as I was describing. So if you think they started with the farewell to Jimmy Anderson, that tap on the shoulder on the golf course, no selection. Ben Folkes, Jack Leach, Ollie Robinson, we mentioned Johnny Bairstow. So let's delve a little bit more into these new players who've been called up to the England squad and let you know the names of players who might be on England's radar in the next couple of years. That's the plan for this lunch break. Got Alistair Cook with me, Stephen Finn is alongside me, just down the way there. Kevin Howells, our award-winning doyen of county cricket. I didn't write this, actually, Kevin.
I did. No, I didn't.
At Trent Bridge, watching Nottinghamshire, Surrey. Great to have you with us, Kevin, as well. Of course, you are very much the doyen of county cricket.
Yeah.
No, you watch a lot of it. But it's quite interesting. Let's start with Cook and Finney here in a second about that sort of. I don't know. Bazball seemed to be fun and backing everybody and all in this together and off we go, marching off, into the future. And yeah, Zach Crawley was averaging with 20 or it was, but he'll play. Of course he will play. We're not going to drop anybody. And yeah, actually, when this year, if you look at it, Finney, let's start with you. I mean, there's quite a lot of changes there, isn't there? And expensive changes, because there are players I've named there who are actually on contracts, getting on for £1 million a year, who, in Johnny Bairstow's case, I think it'd be a bit of a miracle to see him playing for England again, because they are moving on.
Yeah, it makes that decision during the World Cup to offer all of those long-term contracts quite strange, doesn't it? Yeah. Quite rushed and quite forced.
Panic-stricken. I mean, they were talking to these other leagues. Oh, crikey, we've got Mark Wood. He's going to go and join that Abu Dhabi. We've got to get him in. And
we were there as well, weren't we? And we sort of sat there in the commentary box when they got announced and thinking that this is odd timing. They're on the cusp
3 years.
And they're on the cusp of the going out of the World Cup, and it was almost as though, we need some feel-good factors around English cricket, and these contracts were going to do that. And it does seem strange. I mean, for the first time, actually, when we're talking about Test cricket now, when McCullum and Stokes came together, it was that series just after Broad and Anderson had been left out in the West Indies.
That's right.
And the first thing that they said was, we don't care about people's age. We want to play the best team that we think is going to win the game on that day, and we're going to play that team in the Test match. And that served them really well for the first year or so, until that series in Pakistan that they won, which was actually the last Test series that they won before they beat the West Indies a few weeks ago. And this summer it seems as though they've had a re-evaluation of where they're at and what they're actually going to get judged on, I think, as a captain and coach partnership. And yes, winning these Test matches at home has been fantastic in 2022, but I think after last summer they've realised that the pinnacle of what they're going to achieve is going to be beating India next summer, and then beating Australia ultimately in Australia at the end of next winter. So I think now, for the first time, they've looked and they've said, right, we need to start getting people ready to be able to challenge Australia in Australia. And I think that these selections are all a nod towards that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm not being sort of critical, but it does seem to be like a change. And this summer was the one to change, wasn't it? With the West Indies and Sri Lanka, India next summer, Australia after that. This was the summer, to give Jimmy the tap on the shoulder, Alistair.
Absolutely. It's a free hit in one sense, because no disrespectful to West Indies and Sri Lanka, that they're not the strongest of nations. England went very short-termist as soon as Chris Silverwood was replaced, because Chris Silverwood, alongside Ashley Giles, alongside COVID, was all about managing players, trying to get them through, which I feel a little bit sorry for those two, because they were doing the right thing and playing in bubbles, and etc. I mean, it seems mad talking about bubbles, life, but that was kind of the word. I understood that. And then they kind of carried on a little bit after that, probably too long, saying, well, he's going to play here, look for here. And then Brendan and Stokes came in after all that. I was like, right, what's our strongest side today? We're playing that. What's our strongest side tomorrow? We're going to do that. And it gave the players clarity. It gave everyone, and actually it built nicely. Suddenly now they looked at the end of last year and India away, probably actually end of Australia. I'm going to say, well, when they didn't win that series, we need some planning, and this is the result of the planning. And who they're picking, and it is really intriguing because it's just such a different change of mentality from it. It's the right mentality to change, but it's amazing how you go from one way to suddenly another way straight away.
And they do seem to have earmarked a certain type of player that they want to pick as well, haven't they?
They have, certainly in the test team. I think the one-day team is a bit different. They don't quite know their best side or their best coach, or actually
there is some flux there. Yes, there is no coach.
They are in a totally different place for this is a different win. This is for test matches, a very different summer, because I look forward to, as Finney's quite right, India and Australia. The one-day side is just all up in the air at the minute. Judged actually by some of the selections, in my opinion, they're like, well, actually we don't know about this, but good time to try them. But do you know what I mean? There's I didn't know this. It's a bit like the one-day series. I didn't know it was about to happen, and I'm in the game. They don't know who their coach is. They don't know what their best 11 is or their best 15 is. So they're basically starting from a bit of a fresh sheet of paper. It feels like from me.
Yes.
What the one thing under all of the stuff we're talking about, there is so much talent, certainly in the white ball thing, that they can pick from, and it is an exciting time to be around, I think, now for that one-day side.
Yeah, and they've got some one-dayers coming up. We've got Australia, of course. They've got West Indies, haven't they? They've got a few in India. Then there's the Champions Trophy, which I don't know how seriously. I mean, it's an interesting tournament, and it's fun. But that World Cup's on the target, isn't it? I mean, they will be building more for the World Cup in South Africa than the instant gratification of a Champions Trophy. Do you think, or not?
You'd say that, like, I think but in reality, no, because knowing what it's like to lose a final of a Champions Trophy, knowing what that felt like and what it kind of did, like
the white jacket you missed out on.
Well, the white jacket. I mean, I don't have many jackets. I'd love to be pulling that one out now. I mean, Owen Morgan's pulling. It seems like he's pulled out one today, but actually, probably seems to wear a white jacket a lot. Not that this is turning into a fashion show, but it's when you're in that tournament, you're just desperate to win it. You are. So I don't think they'll pick there. They won't have their eye on the World Cup. They will want to. Well, I think they should, because you win a trophy. Doesn't matter what you are. Football teams are dying to win trophies. England teams, international teams, are dying to win trophies, because actually it's something you will remember forever, no matter what the trophy is.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a bit of the background to it all. So we've got Kevin there at Trent Bridge. I think what we'll do is because you're out there on the road, and you're seeing a lot of these younger players who are being called up. So perhaps you can sort of give a bit of a resume of I don't know of you talk to a lot of people too, don't you? You're out there on the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I need to say is, because of the nature of the job, of course, I don't see a great deal of second division championship cricket.
No.
And I've always been fascinated. This is certainly, I go back as long as maybe 30 odd years, where when it came to selection, and you might remember this a little bit, there was this line of thought was that selection was based on if you did it in front of Ian Botham and when he was watching on Sky, and you got into England, you needed to perform then. Now we're at this point where I think we've come through, and I was never too certain whether it was true or not, or how true it was, but there was this idea that if you didn't play for a fashionable club, or you didn't play for a first division club, maybe that mattered more to the batters and the bowlers, I don't know. But, I'm looking at these lists of names, and the other thing, just to throw in before I start talking about them, is it clearly is one of the exciting bits of the job, is you do get to see players as they begin their journey, and that genuinely is great to watch. And I will just throw in just a quick mention, if I may, for the much maligned now One-Day Cup, the Metro Bank One-Day Cup, because that genuinely, whether it be by necessity rather than design or not, you do get to see a lot of very young players. And the one I remember seeing in the One-Day Cup a couple of years ago was the Hampshire bowler John Turner, who are, like in that competition, players literally do seemingly appear from nowhere. And you think, who's he? What's he about? He came in, played for Hampshire, did a terrific job, was taking wickets clearly, and this is something you've touched on already, and you will no doubt talk more with Finney and Sir Alistair there as well. There's this pace that they're looking for. So he had that. The only problem with that one-day cup is that the players can make their appearance during that, seemingly do really well, and then they don't really get another opportunity, some of them, until the following July or August. Yeah. But they certainly John Turner, who's this 23-year-old in the T20 this year, he took 15 wickets in the championship. Of course, he's like all bowlers, he has to be a little bit careful with injuries and that sort of thing. But to get into that Hampshire attack at the moment, you've got Kyle Abbott, Keith Barker and Mo Abbas in the championship. That is not the easiest to try and break into, but he's doing a terrific job in one-day cricket. And of course, although this my beat is county cricket, I have been watching the 100 as well and attending those matches, and it's great to see some of these players clearly make quite a lot of progress a few weeks ago in that competition. Josh Hull, for example, I saw Josh Hull in a T20 game, and he was playing for Leicestershire up at Durham, where it was quite a low-scoring affair, but Leicestershire's bowlers were just terrific, and Josh was very much leading that. But the idea is to play 10 first-class matches, and is being so highly thought of. He swings the ball with so much pace. He's 6'7", so clearly some excitement there. And Leicestershire, as you won't need me reminding you, Jonathan, did so well at this very ground only last year in the One Day Cup again. So there's another reason perhaps to think that the One Day Cup's got a bit going for it. For him and for Leicestershire, that is a really important competition, and although it wasn't the biggest crowd, it's quite a high profile. So those are players you could look out for. And the reason I mentioned that second division, because Gloucestershire, they're not necessarily doing very well in the second division of the Championship, Gloucestershire, but they've got a couple of players, got Zaman Akhtar and Ajit Singh Dale as well, two quick bowlers, and two bowlers who featured for the England Lions, and again doing the business there in the second division and getting noticed. One thing I just want to mention as well, this mustn't be a long list, is Jordan Cox, because I think he's on your list as well that maybe you're going to talk about. And the thing for Jordan, and what makes it, things that have stood out for me, one, I think he's been released again to go and play for Essex this week. Last week, he got released from Old Trafford. He drives all the way down there to Southampton, taking on Hampshire, scores 141. Now, I'm not saying it's the hardest thing in life to do that, compared with other people's life, but I think that's a terrific response from him. And the fact that he was one of the replacements, along with Dean Elgar, who had to replace a certain Sir Alistair Cook, and also Dan Lawrence in that Essex team, and they've done, I'm sure Sir Alistair wouldn't mind
Kevin,
me mentioning.
you can say it. They've done better.
No.
Better.
But they have filled those shoes more than admirably, haven't they? They've done a terrific job. And for Jordan Cox, again, I think that just shows he's got a lot of maturity there as well as a lot of skill.
All right, thank you, Kev. Well, you've introduced some of the names there, which is great. Should we start with the bowlers? It was interesting because actually he did mention there about second division. I think it's when Jeff Miller was the national selector, it was pretty much, whether he actually said it or not, or whether it's quoted as saying that basically you need to be playing first division cricket really to play for England, and there was a bit of movement around the counties actually as a result of that. I mean, Titch Taylor, I think, might have moved away from Leicestershire. I mean, Stuart had gone earlier than that, but there was a bit of a move from second division counties to go to first because actually you felt that you were unlikely to get picked actually in the second division.
You were I was playing second division cricket, so
Yeah.
I'd already kind of made my debut. So it was and Finney goes, I was as well. He just mouthed it. So I'm a little bit actually. If you're good enough, I think you play. I think the argument is, well, you're playing second division, so it's a big step from second division to
Yes.
a test match. But I was playing a test match, go back and play second division, then go back and play a test match. So I'm not entirely sure.
You got knocked over by Stephen Finn in between test matches, I reckon, back in the day.
And that was a dark day, Aggers.
Yes.
I think you got me twice in the game, twice in the day, didn't you?
That was here at Lords. We'd both played tests by that stage.
So I don't quite buy that. I do buy the argument of players leaving smaller counties to play slightly at bigger counties, which will help them, because there is there is an expectation when you play at a first division big side than there is at a, and this is again without disrespecting any of the younger counties or the smaller counties, the Gloucesters, Leicestershire, and you do well, but you're not going to win anything. So really, so it's kind of, it is that there is that
exposure and
well, it's just more like if you're doing it for Nottinghamshire, I know they could go down, but bigger counties, you get more. But if a guy comes in and does really well and he can play, it doesn't matter if you're playing a second division or the first division, because I think you will certainly in this here and now. I never looked at anyone where he's just doing a second division. He can't be picked.
Let's talk about Josh Hull. Who's here, and I sort of watched him bowl today out the back, and he's because what's nice actually about having him and others around is actually whether the second division or not, actually they're now in the big time, and you're rubbing shoulders and you're experiencing all of this, and just bowling in the nets to England players is a good thing. He's only 20. He's a big lad. He's got some proper pace actually, hasn't he? And he does the right from the left arm. You want that ball to come back in, and he does all those things.
Yeah, I think Cookie's exactly right actually as well. When you look at bowlers and selecting bowlers, I think you look at raw attributes. I certainly benefited from that when I was 20, and Sir Alistair gave me my first cap. I was 6'7". I could bowl 90 miles an hour, and immediately that makes people look at you. And I think Josh Hull is very similar. You know, he's not got that much experience, but you look at him physically and watch him bowl a ball, and you think that's something different. That's something that could be quite special. So I think that's the reason why he's been thrust into these environments, and the environment is the key word there. I think Cookie said before play, he's not here to come in and take the new ball in a test match. He's here for Stokes, McCullum, the rest of the players, the senior players, to be able to just have him in and around the group, see how he interacts with people, get him experiencing a big first day at Lords in front of this crowd, warming up, because it does feel completely different, and it allows them to look at him in the nets, for Stokes to face him, and I think from a bowling perspective, and Cookie will be able to confirm this or not, but when you're down there and you're facing someone, you get a real feel as to whether they're a test match bowler. And for him to be bowling in the nets against these guys now is a good career progression for him, even if he's not going to be playing test matches in the immediate future.
Yeah, that feels right, doesn't it? I mean, do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's not here to play next week at the Oval.
I wouldn't have said so. I think if a circumstance happened, then because he's here, there could be a concussion.
Of course,
anything.
Over. Yeah.
And he's then playing. But I think in the idea, if you're ideally saying for Joshua, it is 2 weeks in the environment, you learn so much so quickly. Clearly not as much as playing a test match, but Joe Root, to have a look at him, to feed back to Brendan McCullum, and he'll be bowling. If I was him, I'd be bowling with 19 yards and nets.
Absolutely.
Because you're giving
brand new ball,
everyone else is.
And because it must also really focus you. If you are really determined and ambitious, want to play for England, you have a 2-week period like that at the age of 20.
Give me the ball, find the captain. I want to bowl at him. Yeah.
You leave here, or the Oval, absolutely focus in your mind about what is ahead and what is there. If you work hard, your game improves, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, interestingly, actually, Josh Hull is someone that I became aware, as Kevin said, of him last year in the One Day Cup. You've seen all the clips of him knocking Keaton Jennings' stump all the way back to the bowler, and that's what social media can do, is that Shoaib Bashir caught Ben Stokes' eye through social media, which is remarkable for getting the great man next to me out in a championship.
He didn't get me out,
game.
thank you
Oh
very
no,
much.
sorry, he beat your edge.
Twice, that was it. The rest, two balls.
Cookie has blocked him.
I actually missed him by miles.
But it really is a fascinating, interesting time to be a young player and to be catching people's eye, and it's a fantastic opportunity for him. And he's got the one-day series at the end of the summer as well that he's been selected in.
John Turner then, he's a sort of modern quick bowler, he seems to me. He's not the old classical Fred Truman. He's a bit more of an open, the arm is a bit more open than that. They tend to be more coached like that these days.
Yeah, I like him. There's a simplicity about what he does. I watch Hull bowl, and you look and you think right now at a really young age, the stars have to align for him to bowl the perfect spell, and that's fine. You learn how to do that over the time. You learn your angles because of the way that he twists his body when he bowls, whereas Turner, he stands at the back of his mark, and I've only seen him bowl in white ball cricket, but I like what I see, and everything is square on to the batter. comes up in a straight line, it goes down in a straight line. Similar to when you watch Atkinson bowl, you look at it, you don't think that there's not much really that can go wrong there. I did talk him up in a 100 game recently, and he bowled 2 flat ones first 2 balls and got warned out the attack. Yeah,
I saw him the week. I saw him 2 days after, and they were playing Southern Brave, and Jofra and Tamal, who part of that Southern Brave, everyone knows how quick they bowl. He was the quicker bowler. His average speeds were faster than those two by a couple of miles an hour. And I for one day cricket, he's certainly. Definitely, I think he should play a bit because he just bangs an area with a good slow ball. It's simple. I haven't seen enough of him. He did play 1 4-day game against us, but I haven't seen enough whether he's got a little bit more to his game, which I think you need in red ball. Just because unless you're bowling 98 miles an hour, you've got to do something with the ball.
Yes. Does that action, and it's not open chess, I'd be wrong to describe it as open chess, but it is that sort of modern way.
More mechanical, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I mean, things like wobble seam and so on, presumably it's unaffected by, if you're talking about swing bowling, then I think that arm is more important.
Yeah.
But these days, with particularly wobble, presumably that's kind of irrelevant, is it? It's more the mechanical business of bowling where that left arm is now.
I think actually when you bowl like that, and I like bowlers to bowl naturally and clearly, but hopefully that is his natural action. I know he's had a couple of back problems. He was ruled out of the series against Ireland at the end of last summer when I think he was poised to make his one-day international debut, but ended up not doing so because he missed that through injury. But certainly when you're bowling with that more mechanical action, it just becomes a case of shifting the seam slightly in your hands and working that on. That's something that you develop with time and with bowling overs.
Yeah. Kevin, you're at Trent Bridge, aren't you? I mean, is there any sign of Dylan Pennington? I mean, he's a 100 casualty as well, wasn't he? He did a hamstring.
No, I haven't seen him around. But I mean, the thing for Dylan is he made such a terrific start to the season as well because, the Jimmy thing happened. I remember we had Rob Key on one of our Test Match Special podcasts. He popped up, and I think lots of people were talking about Sam Cook, weren't they, at that stage? But Pennington had really sort of, I mean, not that he'd come from nowhere. Obviously, they're thinking of it, but he really held his hand up at the start of in that really difficult period that bowlers talk about. Actually, playing week in, week out in April and May, the weather was pretty dreadful. By the way, once again, we've got Kookaburra involved again this week and next, as we did right at the start of April. But I've not seen anything of Dylan Pennington around the ground today. But I think it was really important for him. And sadly, as you say, he's injured. But he made such a terrific start here at Notts at the beginning of the summer. I mean, 8 championship matches, 31 wickets. He took right at the top, so a terrific start for him. Can I just briefly, but whilst I'm here though, because we're talking about young players, aren't we? And I'm not saying, because I'm not too sure if it's true whether the average age is coming down for them taking a look at young players. But we've got another 16-year-old on debut. We had Rocky Flintoff making his championship debut for Lancashire last week at 16 years of age. Today, Farhan Ahmed, who is the younger brother of Rehan
Rayan's
Ahmed.
brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now
he's playing today.
He's 16 years, and
they say he's even better than his older brother. But there you go. That's his dad speaking, I think.
Well, he came on. This is the first day. This is Kookaburra. He came on the first morning at 11:25 to bowl, and he bowled pretty much throughout the rest of the session up until lunch. By the way, run away at the top of the table, 88 for 1 at lunch. But his figures, let me just quickly bring them up for it, because this is your 16-year-old on debut. 12 overs, 3 maidens, no wicket for 27. Pretty decent stuff. Very exciting.
Yeah.
And so I think that it seems to me as though they appear younger. That's just maybe my age. But the other thing I'd love to maybe ask all three of you, or Stephen or Alistair, is that it doesn't seem as though these players need to play as much county cricket as maybe they did before England do take notice. Now, whether that is social media, therefore the message gets out there a little bit quicker, or whether this is part of what is perceived to be underlying message that we don't need 14 matches in a season. All the England selectors really need to see is 10/11/12, because obviously some of these players are just not getting that volume of cricket in before they're being looked at by England, aren't they?
No, and a good infrastructure of, I mean, Luke Wright's obviously out there and about, isn't he? But whether he's got other contacts as well who he trusts.
And there's a scouting network, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think that there are guys who go around and watch. And I think actually you back yourself as someone. I mean, the statistics. This is where I don't like statistics. I think that people's performances can be skewed. I mean, Pennington there, 31 wickets at the top of the season, but when you watch him bowl, you think maybe he's not quite as quick as people are saying.
I think lots of work to do on his action too, to be honest.
Some work to do on his action, yeah, and you need to bowl, and you need to realise he needs to work out how to get the most out of himself. But yeah, it's an interesting time out there. You have to put some degree of performances together in to string them together to warrant, I think, playing for.
Do you think it's fair comment as well, since we're talking about Pennington, for instance, and pace, that until you actually see the new quick bowlers bowling like here, when you've got all the other quick bowlers around, then there are some quick bowlers about, that you start to think, okay, perhaps he looked sharp against Leicestershire the other day in that championship game, but actually you see them out here in context, and perhaps it's not quite as quick as perhaps it's built up to be.
Well, I was certainly, for one, was there looking during that West Indies series, thinking, well, this is the perfect time to give someone a debut. But they clearly didn't feel as though he was ready. He was there just bowling through to a mitt, bowling like we saw him at Edgbaston, I think it was, in that last Test match. So clearly the selectors and the coaches would have seen something there that thought he's not quite ready for Test match cricket.
Didn't his hammy blow? I think
his hammy blew afterwards in the 100.
In the 100.
He was definitely bowling still during that last Test match, but his hammy went during. I think he only bowled one lot of 5 in the 100, and his hammy went. But
we'd have known what they really thought about him if he'd have been for this series, wouldn't we?
Yes.
If he wasn't picked for this and they went for someone else, then that's what I think. We don't know what the England guys think of him, because we saw him for 3 weeks, and I think it's quite right to get him around the squad, all that stuff. We'd have known what Rob Keane, Luke Wright and Brendan would have thought of him if he'd have been
fit.
Well, if he'd been picked for the squad.
And people are on their radar. So I had a drink with McCullum earlier in the summer. It was actually when he was giving Jimmy the tap on his shoulder, but I didn't realise that's what he was over here doing. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. But I had a drink with him, and Hull's name was on his lips before he'd even been mentioned in any of these squad lists. This was right back in May, I think, when he came over for that trip, and he said Josh Hull's someone who we really like the look of, and I was like, the chap from Leicester, the 20-year-old who bowled well in the One Day Cup but hasn't played any 4 days. He was like, yeah, big, quick left armer, gives Bashir some rough to work with outside the off stump. So they do have their ears to the ground, and they do have those physical attributes of people that they like.
Moving on, because time is ticking away here, let's talk about these 2 Warwickshire young lads then. Dan Mosley and Jacob Bethel. Mosley with the rocket Yorker from a couple of yards. I mean, inevitably that, I guess, is what people talk about, but of course he bats as well too, doesn't he? But there's 2 exciting young players there, aren't there? We're talking white ball here.
Yeah, so they've both left-handed. Yeah. Both strike the ball incredibly well. Both, interesting, haven't got first-class 100, which is they've started this year. They've played a lot more this year. They've been in and out the last couple of years of the Red Bull stuff for Warwickshire, but they've played a lot more. They're probably like at the challenge of a modern younger player is now, where you have to be. You have to play all 3 formats, because pretty much you can't just be a red ball specialist or a white ball specialist. There's very few of those counties are going to put some money in towards, because you want nothing. But as a trainer, to be able to hit the ball for 6 all the time and then have a good enough technique for red ball stuff is actually very hard. And when we started, it was all about red ball, so all our training was red ball. These guys, at least it's 50-50 white and red, probably a bit more white than red.
You can watch them training. They're 6 hitting, with no sighters, straight out. You're hitting 6s at Edgbaston. It's fascinating watching, and they're hitting them as well.
And those 2 are great strikers as well, and so they find it easy to do that and then have to learn the red ball. Well, we obviously have to learn. Yes, we had to learn to hit 6s.
Yes,
and so, but do you think?
I'm going to interrupt you a second. We are running a bit short on time. Are those 2 the up-and-coming breed of young English white ball players who probably could develop into good red ball players, but those are the sort of youngsters who might actually be tempted to go off into franchise cricket and actually not take up the red ball game?
I think it's incredibly hard to do that. So I think Tom Bantam is a great example of you know, he came in, played a lot of white ball cricket, did well, picked up a franchise, he stopped playing red ball cricket. Suddenly, he didn't do that well in a couple of franchises, missed it, and you know, you bat 5 balls.
Yeah.
You bat 5 balls. Where's the rhythm? Where's the thing? And actually, this year he's getting back to some of his best. Why? Because he's actually hitting lots and lots of balls in red ball. So I think, unless you're an absolute jet at it, and I think there's not many people who can do that. These guys could be like the David Warner, where they start in white ball. He made a test debut without. They played for Australia in white ball without playing any red ball cricket. Turned into one of the great openers of all three formatted opener of our generation. God, that's quite hard for me to say about David Warner as well. No, so you can see, so there is a different path that they might start as white ball and then and then actually just evolve into red ball. But I do think, I might be old-fashioned, that batters need to play red ball as well, certainly at that age, because it gives you volume, learns your technique, all that stuff which you learn rather than just playing franchise.
Bit more depth to your game.
I think so.
Yeah, but Moeen Ali has said in interviews, I think, and he'd be a big mentor for them at Warwickshire and Birmingham Phoenix, said that you need the base technique of your red ball game, the ability of the bat to come up and down in a straight line, to be nicely balanced, to then progress on to the next phase. So you hope that the youngsters are listening to someone like Moeen Ali, who's a fantastic white ball player and has been part of multiple World Cup winning teams. You hope that they take heed and listen to him when looking at how their careers progress.
Let's finish with Jordan Coxon, shall we? He's someone you obviously know very well. Cookie, you've seen a fair amount of him play, I guess, have you?
A little bit, because he only joined this year at Essex.
Yes.
And he played a little bit against me a couple of times. He is, just speaking to the Essex guys, they think he's a seriously good player. The element of he's got time. They say he's got serious amount of time, very confident in his ability, and he's come into a new county and scored, I think he's got 900 runs already this year. So he'll be looking at his England side. I don't quite know how he gets in, because he's a middle order player, but he could end up batting 3 for England if Ollie Pope, for example, moves around, you know, like if Jamie Smith moves up. So Cox is on England's radar, and I would be pushing for him at some stage getting that side, because I think he's an outstanding player.
Yeah. Have you seen much of him?
I haven't, and a little bit more in white ball cricket than I have red ball cricket. But the one thing that he does, he just exudes confidence. You hear him speak. He seems like someone who, in the last couple of years, he's had the confidence to move to one of the counties that challenging at the top of the First Division, and he's one of those guys. I think when we're talking about the benefit of playing at the top end of the First Division and the pressure that comes with that, he's someone who, by scoring the runs he has done this year, had he done that for Kent, I'm not sure people would be talking about him as much. They're the bottom of the First Division, clearly, but Essex and the pressure that comes with that, filling Cookie's boots, filling Dan Lawrence's boots, who's moved to Surrey, he's come in and scored those runs, and with the confidence with which he's done it, I think stands him in good stead. And from what I've seen, he has that simple technique and seems in a similar breath as like a Harry Brook, who looks to be able to deal with the different paces of play throughout the day of a test match.
Proud father behind. We talk about, but Rocky's had a mention about Archie. The last time I remember Archie playing in Cape Town in the Vineyard Hotel there on the lawn. First class debut today, Michael.
Amazing. I watched.
It's terrifying.
I was just saying it yesterday. Elsie, my 10-year-old, had us a game of cricket, and the opposition turned up short.
Right.
So Isabel, my 7-year-old, played for the other, and you know, she was in multicoloured kit and stuff. And I was umpiring. I was like, and then Elsie came on to bowl because she wanted to bowl at Isabel, and I was like, I cannot umpire this game.
Nightmare.
I was nervous, but I was like, this ain't going to end well.
Close LB calls?
Luckily, they don't do LB. But I'm just thinking, I was thinking that just now when you were mentioning about Rocky and Archie. I couldn't imagine what it'd be like for someone like Michael, who knows the game so well, to then have a son who's obviously very good, to then the balance. Like I struggle with my 7-10-year-old. What do I teach him to cricket? Do I let him play? Let alone making his first class day.
As long as he's not run out backing up again, Michael.
I can tell you exactly how it is. I've never been more nervous.
Really?
No, I mean, I never get nervous watching cricket, but when it's your son strolling out, I don't care who you are, whether you're an ex-player or not, or just mums and dads and granny and grandpas watching. You just want them to do well. You just want them to have a little bit of a break. Batting's awful. Watching your son or daughter bat, it's awful. In the field, it's fine.
You go and watch live.
Yes, yeah.
Does it bother him?
No.
Not at all.
No. He's very much with Somerset. They've been great with him. We haven't watched him a lot this year because I've obviously been commentating. There was the T20 World Cup. And kind of his games have been in the schedule when I've been working, but Granny and Grandpa are there, so they've got to deal with whatever happens today, whether it's good or bad. I'm on the phone.
Is he batting?
His team are batting, yes. Somerset. He'll be going in, I think, 7 or 8. So we'll see. We'll see how he goes. But he's excited. That's all I can say. He enjoys the game, and that's the main thing. But it's the most nervous I've been at a cricket ground for many, many years.
Yeah, you're shuffling around.
And I'm not even at the ground.
Anyone not on these lists? Kevin, have you? Is there anybody out there?
Can I mention a couple? One is added to the long list of wicket-keeping batters, which of course Jordan Cox is one as well. But Matthew Hurst made an appearance in the 100, I know, but he's just 20 years of age, 12 first-class matches, a century, 5 50s already. Strike rate I see of T20 142, List A 128, first class is 50, so they look pretty good numbers to me in this age, and a bit random, and a bit because he comes from Shropshire, which is the greatest county in the country, as we all know, but plays for Worcestershire. An 18-year-old called Jack Home, who made his appearance for the first time for Worcestershire in the One Day Cup this past month there in August, took 16 wickets, average of 14, included a 6 for against Derbyshire. He is really, really quick, and of course with all quick bowlers, therefore he can sometimes get it wrong and he can sometimes travel a bit. But at 18 years of age, I put him down as perhaps one of these that maybe not everybody's heard of, but maybe to look out for.
Kevin, I've actually seen Jack a lot over the years. It's quite interesting now because I've actually
age group
through
stuff.
And all the age. I'll throw in there, and I'm sure you've seen him, Kevin. Harry Moore at Derbyshire. A young all-rounder. He is a fantastic talent. He's an athlete. He bowls decent pace and he can bat. He got Derbyshire over the line against Somerset in the Metro Bank with a 25 not out off about 12 balls. He is a serious young talent.
And again, maybe you could argue playing for unfashionable teams but still being noted and still getting an opportunity and chance, which I think is something for the 18 first-class counties.
It's interesting how we've said today, and Finney said most recently, I think, that I've only seen him play white ball cricket because that's what's on the telly, isn't it?
Yep.
That is it, and inevitably that's why the selectors are out there. They've got their scouts. They're out there looking around and watching all forms of the game.